So thank you everyone for coming here this evening for the Wavemakers opening and celebration of International Women's Day, hosted by Subsea Energy Australia and Women in Subsea Engineering Network. Before we begin proceedings, I would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on today, and pay respects to their elders, past and present. My name is Sarah Watson. I'm one of the Women in Subsea Engineering Taskforce committee members, one of the many that are here tonight. And it's my pleasure to be introducing the line of speakers that we've got for you. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Anne Ali and Morgan Harlan, who are our special guests and keynote speakers. Thank you for joining us. First up, we'll hear from Alison Selman, who is the founder and coordinator of the Women in Subsea Engineering Group, otherwise known as WISE. Please welcome Alison.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. You look like a fabulous bunch tonight. Thank you for coming to celebrate tonight with us. This year's International Women's Day theme is Press for Progress. It is a call for all of us to continue working towards gender parity, and a reminder that really much more needs to be done. And this is most certainly the case for women in STEM professions. Nationally, the number of girls who are choosing to study a STEM subject in school is in a decline. There are many, many factors that contribute to this. One way to overcome this, though, is to provide positive role models that show the next generation of girls the possible career pathways that could be pursued. As Marian Wright Edelman said, you can't be what you can't see. And this has been the catalyst for the Wavemakers project, which starts with the exhibition launched today. Wavemakers is about celebrating the successes of the 12 women that are featured in the exhibition. We will share their career journey stories, how they overcame barriers in their professions, but more importantly, the immense satisfaction they actually get from their challenging professions. Wavemakers is about making these stories visible to other people and to inspire others to pursue their goals. So I'll be very quick. Events like this are not without the support of many. I would like to thank Dr. Anne Ali and Morgan Harlan for coming to open our exhibition, the Wavemakers who are amongst us today for sharing their stories, the suppliers who have made this a reality and worked really hard, the WISE task group who are all volunteers and have professional jobs, but they help us achieve the WISE goals, and to Francis Eaton for organizing all the lovely drinks and food that you are enjoying today, the venue and the amazing exhibition. Last but not least, may I ask Jessica Peach to come up. Now, Jessica is the WISE Communications Officer. And she also has been the brainchild behind the whole Wavemakers project. I'm an engineer, I am not creative. Wow. So she has worked tirelessly for months to deliver this project. Without Jess, there would be no Wavemakers project. Sadly, this is also Jess's last major project for WISE, and we will miss her dearly in the upcoming months. So on behalf of SCA and WISE, Jess, just a small token of my appreciation. And that's it for me, so enjoy the exhibition and the evening's offerings. Thank you.
Next up, we're honoured to have with us today Dr. Anne Ali, Federal Member for Cowan. Dr. Ali is no stranger to working in a male-dominated environment, with a background as a professor, academic and practitioner in the fields of counter-terrorism and counter-radicalisation, and prior to that in government policy. I look forward to hearing her words of wisdom. Please welcome Dr. Ali.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to also start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge Alison Selman, the founder of WISE, and Jessica, the creative force behind the project here today. I think having a look around at the profiles that are featured here as part of this exhibition really fills me with a sense of pride as being a woman, first of all, but also a woman who has navigated a very male-dominated industry, but also reminds me of the challenges that that entails as well, and the fact that today, on International Women's Day, with a theme of Press for Progress, we can never keep our eye off the fact that there is still a lot of progress to be made. I think the term Wavemakers really is an appropriate term for this project, because I think of these women all as women who have made waves. And as somebody who has also been that person, I've never really considered myself much of a wave maker. In fact, I spent much of my life trying to be very compliant and trying to seem like I wasn't the one making waves. But when you're walking through the hallowed halls of Parliament that are flanked by these humongous portraits of older white gentlemen who seem to be looking at you and saying, who let you in this joint? It's hard to feel that you are not somebody who is disrupting what people think a politician or someone in Parliament should look like. And I've spent much of my life being that kind of disruptor, that person in the room who interrupts what people think or expect of a particular profession, particularly in counter-terrorism. So I wanted to have a word with you today about diversity and why diversity matters. You know, here today on International Women's Day, we celebrate diversity. We celebrate and we acknowledge how gender diversity can be not just valued, but valuable to everything that we do. We acknowledge the progress that we've made, but as I said earlier, we never keep our eye off the fact that we've still got a long way to go. And it's important that we value diversity for a number of reasons. First of all, because it brings a whole range of different perspectives. It forces you to interact and develop resilience in interacting with people who perhaps you would not have an opportunity to interact with. It contributes to stronger teams, and more importantly, in a globalised economy, it just makes really good business sense to have a diverse workforce. But there are different kinds of diversity, and I want to explore with you a little bit about what we mean by diversity, because there are these kinds of macro categories that we talk about, like gender and maybe age, you know, the kind of vital stats that you have on your driver's license. But there's so much more to diversity than that, and I think if we're going to progress, particularly in terms of equality, we need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time and look at diversity from different perspectives and in different ways, and recognise all the other kinds of diversity that come along with that, all those intersectionalities of colour and race, ethnicity, ability, gender, sex, age, rural and remote, and all of those things that aren't just about just being a woman or a man, but all of those other layers that make us who we are as well. And I don't think that we can claim any real triumphs in having diversity until we address all the different kinds of diversity. I don't think that we can celebrate completely our progress until we leave nobody behind, until we can ensure that all women, regardless of their ethnicity, their race, their disability, their age, whether they're rural or remote, until all women can celebrate along with us. And I think that's an important point that I'd like to remind everyone on International Women's Day, that when we talk about gender equality, we're talking about a whole range of other forms of equality as well. When we're talking about gender diversity, we're talking about a whole range of other diversities as well. And often these diversities get left behind, get left as an afterthought, as a kind of a semicolon and. But I know I'm not an afterthought. I'm not a semicolon and. I'm a woman, but I also happen to be a woman of colour, a mother, a wife, a sister, an aunt, an average cook. Maybe average is a bit of a stretch, but there's a whole lot to our DNAs than just our gender. And I would hope that as we move forward in recognising the value that gender equality brings to the workforce and to our society and to everything that we do, that we don't leave behind those other forms of recognition of different forms of diversity as well. So in finishing, I'd like to just say a word about the importance of initiatives like WISE and Wavemakers. I am so blessed that I get the privilege of going and speaking at so many schools. And it's one of the most enjoyable parts of my work. It is just an absolute honour and a privilege. I tend to prefer the company of young kids more than adults. They tend to be a lot more honest, let me say. And I love talking to young children because they give me hope. And let me tell you, when you're a politician, you look for hope. Because hope can be the panacea to frustration and despair. And I always talk to young children about what it is that they want to do when they grow up. And they all say the same. You know, you walk into a room of 6-year-olds and you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, and they'll tell you they want to be doctors, they want to be teachers, they want to be ambulance drivers, firemen and firewomen, dancers, footy players, ballerinas, princesses, and a whole range of other things. But they all want to do good. They want to do good stuff. Yeah? They want to contribute. They want to be something good. None of those kids ever say, I want to grow up and be a mass murderer. Or a politician, for that matter. They all want to do really good things. But I lament sometimes that the young girls that I speak to rarely say that they want to do engineering as a career, that they want to choose engineering as a career. And so I think that creating role models for young women and letting them know just what kind of options they have is of utmost importance. When I was a young girl, I didn't have the kinds of role models that I wished I had back then. And sometimes I think if I had that role model, if I had seen that face, if somebody had told me, if I could look up to somebody who was like me, who looked like me, perhaps I might have chosen a different path in my life. I don't know that I would have ended up anywhere different to where I am now, but perhaps I would have chosen that path in my life. So I want to say this to all the women and all the men in the room. Please, go out and find those young girls. Go out and find them. Shine a light for them. Shine a light for them. Help them through the wilderness. Inspire them. And be inspired to continue doing what you're doing. Thank you so much, and I hope the rest of the evening goes well.
I'm now very pleased to introduce our second keynote speaker, Morgan Harland, who is Woodside's General Manager for Subsea and Pipeline. Morgan has spent 28 years working in the subsea industry, of which the last 16 years, I believe he said, was at Woodside. And when I met with him earlier this week, he said that he was going to share with us some of his insights of the diversity achievements that he's seen along his way and his hopes and visions for future progress. Please welcome Morgan.
Thank you and good evening. When I agreed to address this forum a few months ago, I thought, yeah, it should be quite straightforward really. There's heaps of material out there, heaps of real life examples to draw upon which will help me pull together a meaningful and impactful address. But therein lies the challenge. Yes, there is heaps of material out there and heaps of examples, but they're commingled with mountains and mountains of opinions. And this realisation was never more starkly evident at the weekend when I attended a barbecue with the family. And somehow the conversation meandered its way through to this address I was preparing for this evening, and how I was going to give some insights into the state of diversity in the subsea sector, the oil and gas industry. Well, let me tell you, the lengthy and deeply emotive and complex and subjective opinions that were put forward left me in no doubt that this is really a difficult topic. Each person gave their opinion, and each one was true for the person giving it. At least it was an inclusive event. And yes, you see, we are all products of our own life experiences, which is precisely what makes this topic so fascinating. So, now in my 28th year of working in oil and gas, when I'm asked about my views on the value of diversity, I can reflect on some of the positive and some of the not so positive experiences and episodes that have served to shape my own opinions. And I'm sure all of you here this evening can share some similar reflections. So whilst our experiences play a huge role in how we will behave in the future, I'd like to take a moment to consider where we are at the moment, specifically within the subsea discipline within Woodside. So we are called a subsea function. We're 116 people strong. We've got 96 males and 20 females. The function represents 12 nationalities, and we speak 23 different languages across the function. So I'm sure you'd agree we've embarked on our diversity journey. Now in 2017, our subsea engineering graduate intake was 50% males and 50% females. In 2018, we've now slightly increased that in favour of the females to 55% females and 45% males. And we've made no compromises, absolutely no compromises, and we're extremely happy with the way things are moving forward. The question I ask myself and my team is, are we really leveraging the value that comes from an inclusive and diverse organisation? The average age is 35. Only 1.3% of our senior engineers are female. However, we do have 28% in the senior leadership team, but we have no females in team lead roles at the moment. So yes, whilst we're certainly on the journey, I would offer that even at this particular journey's end, we will not reap the full fruits of our diversity labours. Targets, quotas, training, policies are all essential, but they are not sufficient to ensure that every business and every individual benefits from true diversity. I could be provocative and say the more diverse an organisation is, the more inequity it will experience. And why is that? I'm not the same as you. I've been conditioned and formed by 22 years of family, religion, community, education, followed by a further 28 years of work environments. As a privileged white male, my learned perceptions are my truths. And I assume that everybody experiences life as I experience life. I subtly and subconsciously evaluate people against my own set of rules. And very possibly, if unintentionally, I advantage certain people over others. I advantage certain people over others. And guess what? You all do the same. To reap the benefits of an inclusive and diverse workforce, we need to explore and then adjust our own unconscious attitudes. We need to attend to the differences, because it's these differences that are really our assets. And this attention will exploit the incremental creativity of diverse groups. This will be diversity's version of the Technique FMC 2.0 tree, or the One Subsea Blue Box offering. Clearly, there is no silver bullet. But perhaps the answer lies in the silver bucket. I go nowhere without this, but that's a different story. Before we get into the answers, let's investigate what these learned perceptions might be that lead us to subconsciously evaluate people. Well, as I've been standing here for the past 2 minutes, you will have been evaluating me. So let's go with the he's from Yorkshire perception. He likes racing whippets and flying pigeons and wearing flat caps. Completely irrelevant. He may have played in a brass band. That's actually true, I did. He has pockets longer than his arms. Well, that depends on who I'm with. Used to be true. He talks with an accent I can't really understand. Now we're getting somewhere. He must be stubborn and matter of fact. It could be difficult to deal with. And so the list goes on. Coming from the UK, one's local dialect and county of origin are great sources of banter and pigeonholing. I'm not going anywhere near the England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales divide. We joke about it, but it's this combination of the multitude of seemingly insignificant differences and backgrounds that fuels the melting pot of diversity. Putting aside mainstream diversity categories, we quickly move on to marital status, children, no children, fashion, cars, where people live, smoking, cat lovers, dog lovers, speaking styles, the quiet, the opinionated, and so on and so on. We should in no way be asking people to change who they are. Completely ridiculous, impractical, and would lead to far too much homogeneity. That's a wrong word. I'll be far too homogeneous, I suppose, better way to put it. I think a place to focus attention, though, is becoming more consciously skilled at being aware of where our perceptions and our evaluations have their roots. And if we establish this as individuals, we are much better equipped to raise awareness of how our unconscious biases impact our views and decisions of others. We're entering the era of cognitive diversity, and self-awareness is a critical component. Self-awareness is a critical component. Leadership of self, subordinates, peers, superiors will also be crucial to achieve the inclusion we require from our diverse workforce. Now, manifested in many different ways, leadership is heavily influenced by personal styles. And over the years, I've found that successful leaders and people who have provided me with motivation exhibit the following attributes. They've got a high level of integrity. They've got their own internal true north compass, which guides the right decision. They're courageous. They've got the courage to challenge for positive change. They've got the ability to communicate, and specifically communicate the context of an issue and then communicate it broadly. And they have the ability to listen, probably the most critical ability, to listen. And in doing so, they can travel outside their own worldview. So, the route to maximising the value of a diverse workforce who inherently act in an inclusive manner is complex and emotive. And we should celebrate the achievements of the journey so far, which is the reason for events such as this. But as we press for progress, let's help the workplace become more aware of the impact our unconscious bias has on achieving our ambitions. Thank you.
So the last speaker I'd like to call up this evening is Jessica Peach, who was introduced earlier by Alison Selman. I'm just amazed by Jessica's ability to have project managed and developed this whole exhibition, the online campaign, the Career Comic Book. Jessica, it's an amazing job you've done. Thank you very, very much.
Hello everyone, thank you all so much for being here. This day has been over a year in the making, so it's very exciting to see it all come true and to see you all here. One of the biggest challenges of this sort of a project is navigating the realities of working within such a highly commercialised environment. That we have this space here at CORE is such a blessing, and I just wanted to say thank you to Tamarin and Justin for their foresight in recognising Perth's need for a space to enable collaborations such as this. Over 2 sessions in August and October last year, here at CORE, down in the basement and out in the outdoor area, we took photos and audio and visual recordings for this project. The women were asked to share their stories, their passion for engineering, and how they had achieved career and personal success. That content formed the foundation of 3 components of the Wavemaker campaign. The exhibition here tonight is just the first part. It has been designed to be mobile. Next Tuesday, it will be moved to the Perth Exhibition Centre for the AOG. The following week, it will be located in the Central Park foyer. Following that, it will be available for loan by community groups, schools and other industry associations at no cost. Susan Creamer-Pickford from Engineers Australia has kindly offered to house and help us manage this. Thank you very much, Susan. See you tonight. The second part of the project is an online campaign that starts on Monday. Each day, for 12 days, we will promote one of the Wavemakers, connecting with their past schools, their volunteer associations, and through their own social media networks. Wavemakerstories.com.au comprises video and audio interviews. You can watch the videos tonight as we have set up a listening station inside the CORE office. The third and final part is the Wavemaker Careers comic book. It depicts realistic female characters using real scenarios and real subsea technologies. You have an opportunity to take part and help us take this project further by purchasing an advanced copy. At the same time, donating a copy to an Australian school library. See Glenn at the back. You'll get a sticker when you've made your purchase. Everyone gets a sticker by the end of the night, hopefully. The entire project has been a true industry collaboration. It took literally many hundreds of volunteer hours from WISE members, as well as professional contributors. We will wrap it up. There's drinks, there's food. You good? Excellent. Thank you so much for coming.
Why do birds fly like they do? Why can't I do it too? It's so unfair, so unfair. I got feathers too. I know how to fly in the blues. So unfair, so unfair. Take a look at my heart and choose. Take a look at my heart and choose. Take a look at my heart and choose. Do I fly with you? It's not like I had dreams look at my heart and choose. Take a look at my heart and choose. Take a look at my heart and choose. Do I fly with you? Do I do I